So namaste and welcome to Satsang this morning. So today I wanted to continue what we've been doing in these Monday Satsangs, which is to directly experience our real self by leading a guided meditation, which everyone is welcome to join in with, because it's important first and foremost to experience what we actually are as soon as possible, so that we are able to really see experientially and to have an experience of that truth. And to do that is going to begin to shift your entire focus of your journey to more and more of a seeing and a deepening of that seeing of what you are, and less of a trying to get somewhere, trying to reach something that we're sure that we're not already. So the remedy for that is to experience the truth of our being as soon as possible and as often as possible. And that is often much easier than we expect it to be. We have a lot of beliefs in our society as a culture of seekers that it's difficult to realize the self. But really, if it is already what we are, then how difficult can it be? Once we know how to look, once we know how to find that real self, then it just becomes a question of getting to know that more. And that's what we're going to do today, because the doorway to the extraordinary is through the ordinary experience in every moment. And the way to realize the infinite is to start with the finite, to start with the limited, and then we'll see the unlimited aspect of ourselves. There is something wonderful about you that's already present right now, but perhaps we haven't investigated it deeply enough, given it enough attention, because it seems ordinary, it seems normal, it seems like, well, it's just me, it's just who I am. And quite often the thing that we take for granted most is perhaps the most important thing about us. So we're gonna do this guided meditation for 20-25 minutes, something like that today. And I'd urge you to join in if you want to. And you can do this with your eyes closed or open. It really doesn't matter at all. As long as you're sitting comfy, perhaps best not to lie down. And turn off any other distractions if you can, if you want to. And just to spend 20 minutes getting to know yourself, which may seem like a strange thing to say, but it's necessary for us all. So, starting from right where we are in this moment with our ordinary experience, right now you are aware of these words. You're aware of what your senses are taking in. There's awareness right now present. And we're just going to start from there. We're going to notice simply that you're aware, this awareness. Or you can start from the question, am I aware right now? And just to ask that question, am I aware? There's a looking and a seeing of awareness being present, a recognition. There's awareness here. Awareness is hearing these words through your ears. And even without the ears, it hears the sound, the noise of thoughts, and the internal, it sees the inner images in our mind, and it also sees what our eyes are seeing. So it's here right now. And our meditation, if you want to follow along, is just to notice that awareness. Simply to recognize awareness is here right now. There isn't anything we have to do to make that happen. And the fact that you know what your senses are perceiving, right now you can experience the contact that your body is making with the chair or whatever you're sitting on. You're aware of that. You're aware of how the air feels on your skin in the room that you're sitting in. You might be aware of external noises outside in your environment, internal sensations. Perhaps some bodily system is functioning, aware of your heartbeat, aware of how warm or cold your body is, how comfy it is. And all of this is just effortlessly perceived, and you're not doing anything special to recognize all of this. So just to notice that awareness is present now in this moment is enough. And as we said, it's not going to feel extraordinary. It's just going to feel my awareness. It's just going to seem very, very normal and ordinary. And that's the key, is paying attention to what seems ordinary and normal and seems to be taken for granted by most of us until we realize its importance. So just bringing attention to the fact that awareness is here. And awareness is so much present that we don't always notice. We just take for granted, I know what my eyes are seeing, I know what my mind is thinking, I know how my body is feeling, I know what emotion is arising. So just to notice that awareness is here and is kind of in the background until we put attention on it is enough. Very simple meditation, and we're not trying to change anything at all. There is no goal for this meditation either. These direct type of meditations is just a seeing, a noticing. So just to recognize, right now you're aware, you can hear these words, they're coming in through your ears, and something is registering their meaning. Something knows what the ears are hearing. And if your eyes are open or closed, you can see that you're either seeing through your eyes or they're closed. You can see that through awareness. If there's sounds in your environment outside the room that you're in, and you can hear those, it's all reporting back to your awareness. And again, it's not going to feel special right now. It's just going to feel like my awareness. I'm just me. And we all start from that place. It's absolutely fine. But there is something extraordinary about this seeming ordinariness. And just to want to pay attention to it is enough. So if awareness wanders to looking at thoughts or some emotion or some sensation, you can just gently bring attention back, awareness back, same thing here, to the awareness itself. Am I aware right now? And there's nothing going wrong if we get distracted at all. It's absolutely normal, it's natural that our awareness is going to wander to objects, to thoughts, to sensations, to an itch, to a sound outside, to a sense of relaxation, to these words that you're hearing. Awareness is going to wander around to objects for a while. Simply when you notice that's occurring, just bring awareness back to looking at itself with the question, am I aware right now? When we ask that question, am I aware? There has to be a looking and a checking and a seeing that awareness is present, not a thinking. Thinking may be going on in the background, that's fine, we don't need to stop it. Just noticing awareness being aware of awareness instead of being aware of thoughts or aware of emotions. And we don't have to stop our world. We can still be thoughts and emotions and sensations happening. We just bring in awareness back to look at itself. You're recognizing awareness is here. The awareness itself is invisible, can't really find it in any particular place. We just know it's here. We're not seeing it with our eyes, but we know it's here. So just to recognize, right now, you are aware. And that's enough. A very simple, simple practice. Allowing awareness to rest, looking at itself, noticing itself. That it's not looking at any particular thing. It's looking at itself. Just for a short while. And as we do this, we might begin to feel a sense of relaxation in the body. Maybe a contentment. Maybe even a sense that something is important here, that there's something worth pursuing here, progressing with. And maybe this being something really important right in front of us, right under our noses, but we couldn't see it before. And just an openness to experience awareness, however it feels in this moment. Just bringing attention back to awareness itself. Am I aware right now? And it's a beautifully simple practice where we're not trying to achieve anything, we're not trying to do anything. We're just noticing what is constant in our experience, what's usually in the background. And we're noticing it maybe so much more than what we have realized. That what I have called I is really this awareness. It's hearing through my ears, it's watching through my eyes. It's feeling through my skin. It's ever present and aware, effortlessly. It doesn't take any effort to hear these words or even understand them. It doesn't take any effort to see through your eyes. This awareness has just been constantly here in the background, and we're just beginning to notice it. And there's a very simple thing happening here, that awareness is beginning to enjoy looking at itself rather than looking at objects arising out of it, thoughts, emotions, states coming and going, sensations, and experiences. Any emotion or thought or state that's experienced is recognized because this awareness is here to see it. just bringing awareness to look at itself. Maybe seeing a little clearer. The awareness is always present. The only thing that's changing is what it is aware of. Most of the time it's been aware of phenomena, of thoughts, experiences. And then we're just gently encouraging awareness to look at itself, to recognize itself. Perhaps there has been this wonderful thing about you that's been misunderstood. That is something quite amazing. Again, it starts off as ordinary, normal. And just a few moments each day like this, bringing awareness to look at itself is powerful. We can't see awareness like we can with our eyes or like we see thoughts. But there's a knowingness that it's here, a recognition, a seeing without eyes. Is awareness present right now? Just to notice it is extremely powerful. To notice the thing that isn't changing about us. To notice the thing that is constant. And awareness doesn't feel like anything at all. It doesn't have any quality or shape or tangibility. So we're not noticing awareness in the traditional way. Awareness is recognizing itself. What if this very ordinary seeming awareness of ours is a doorway into something much more wonderful? Simply by being interested as to what it actually is. And from time to time, awareness will wander back to looking at thoughts or to a sense of relaxation and peace that may be in the body, or to some tightness in the body, some sensation, some contraction. And that's absolutely normal. We don't need to try to stop awareness wandering. Even for it to wander, to look at thoughts and phenomena, to look at objects and things, we're recognizing it's here, unchanging, constant. In fact, even to notice it's wandering means we're bringing attention back to awareness itself. Perhaps we have even trying. What is your awareness looking at right now? To even answer that question, It will be looking at itself. That which is invisible and intangible, and here we're calling it awareness, is looking at itself. Before eyes, before ears, before mind, it's recognizing itself. And awareness doesn't feel like anything in particular, but it has an effect on the body, relaxing effect on the body and the mind. When awareness watches itself, perhaps things feel like they're slowing down or calming down. And when awareness watches thoughts and emotions and experiences, the body has to feel the effect of those thoughts, those emotions, those experiences. When awareness watches itself, the body experiences the effect, a kind of openness and quietness, a kind of nothing really going onness. So we're just gently coming to spend some time each day being aware of that awareness, falling in love that's happening with the seeming ordinary awareness. And even if awareness is completely absorbed in looking at thoughts, if it's completely experiencing thoughts or an emotion, it hasn't changed. The awareness hasn't changed or gone. Simply it was just looking at thoughts for a while and not itself. It's enough just to notice that you're aware. It's enough to recognize awareness is here. And although at first we have to take some time each day to show awareness how nice it feels to look at itself in what we're calling meditation today. After a while, it just becomes a habit for our awareness to want to look at itself, to rest in its no-thingness state. More and more, we'll find we're spontaneously just noticing awareness rather than thoughts. We don't have to get rid of anything at all. Whatever phenomena arises, thoughts or a strong emotion or a state in the body, can just use that to say, well, we can only see those because awareness is present still. That perhaps even the things we thought were getting in the way of our meditation, some restlessness, some thoughts, some negative emotion, distraction, can actually serve to point us to the fact that awareness is watching and present still. Everything becomes an aid to our meditation in this way. Awareness is not a phenomena. It's not coming or going. It's not changing. It's constant. It's not perceivable with our senses. It's just here. And we've just called it me. I'm aware of my thoughts, my emotions, my mind, my world. From time to time, we can just recenter ourselves with the question, am I aware right now? Or is there awareness? Or if you prefer, what is my awareness looking at right now? And it will either be looking at some object, something changing, moving, coming, going, or it'll be looking at itself. That same awareness is present with our eyes open or closed, whether our body is busily engaged or whether it's sat down, seated like this, quiet. Whether our mind is thinking or not, awareness is present to see both of those. Awareness itself is undisturbed, unmoved by anything that it perceives. It's just coming, staying here, present, watching, silently watching the noise of the mind, the noise of the world, watching experience happen. And at night time, watching no experience happen. Just allowing yourself to enjoy how good it feels to just notice awareness. Your body will naturally respond to awareness watching itself. That when awareness watches thoughts, the body contracts and feels tension. And when awareness watches itself, the body relaxes and begins to open. Just a very simple thing we're doing here. Just noticing awareness, recognizing it's here. It is the one thing that is the same for all of us, experience the same. Only what awareness is looking at changes. The awareness itself is unchanging, eternal. Didn't do anything special at all. We just recognized what's already here. What is constant. What is overlooked because it's not changing, because it's not visible with our eyes, because it's not becoming anything, because it isn't feeling a particular way, it just is. So if your eyes are closed and you want to open them, you can. And we can recognize that awareness is watching, either with your eyes closed or open. It's seeing the visual field, or it's seeing no visual stimuli. The same awareness that knows. It makes no difference if we're in formal meditation like this, or if we're in an informal meditation moving around our world. The very fact that we perceive our world, our relationships, our work, our family, is evidence of awareness being present. So whenever you're ready, if you'd like to open your eyes, if they're closed, confirm that awareness hasn't disappeared just because the meditation is coming to a close. Nothing is changing, nothing is different for the awareness. It doesn't make any difference to it whether we're talking, interacting, or sitting quietly, whether we're in a room full of beings or if there's only us. So I hope you enjoyed that meditation. A very simple thing that we're just noticing awareness, noticing that it's always present, and then eventually coming to notice it is what we have called me or I, that is the awareness. And if you'd like to ask a question about anything in particular to do with Satsang or to do with this meditation itself, or about awakening, then invite you to do so. If you want to ask a question or share something, you can click on participants at the bottom of your screen, and at the bottom of that section, the participants, there's an option to raise your hand to let me know that you want to ask a question. Okay, we'll start with Rich. Rich here, Rich now.
Hiya, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. As you're aware, I've been. Can I ask you about a question I've been contemplating?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been asking the question: Am I my own worst enemy? So it was something I've very much believed quite strongly, and I worked through. What I did is every time I were in a situation, usually a stressful situation, that kind of feeling would come up. Like even if it were seemingly nothing to do with me, I'd always feel like, right, I'm doing this to myself. So I kept asking the question, and I've gone through the thought answers, and I've stopped believing that thought so much. But then I recognized that I still felt I was my own worst enemy quite strongly.
Yeah.
So I kept on contemplating, and now I'm at a stage where actually I don't really feel like my own worst enemy anymore. And because I don't feel like that, I'm now not encountering situations that make me feel like I'm my own worst enemy because of
It's
causality, I
reflecting
guess.
back to you
Yeah.
more in your world, in your experience. Yeah.
Yes. So I've got that far, and I know you said to take it all the way to peace, or words to that effect. I just wasn't sure whether do I keep on with that question or do I choose another question, or it's definitely something's changed.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know whether to carry on with that or to change something. I'm not sure.
Well, hopefully it should be quite enjoyable now, the question. Hopefully you're sort of seeing the real fruits of it are coming, that you've moved through the thought answers to the emotional, and now you're beginning to the experiential answer. But unless you're experiencing a total absence of the triggers, that you've noticed, because the question came from this recognition that you were sabotaging your own peace in a way.
Yeah, very strongly. Yeah, very strongly.
Unless that stopped happening completely, there's constant peace basically,
Yeah.
or or both preferably. The triggers in your experience in your world have stopped happening, that are to do with
Right.
this pattern completely. If they're still occurring, even less frequently, even less intensely, I would stay with the question until you've pulled the root out completely. Then when you have you're not feeling the disturbance in here at all, as in unbroken peace, and you're not seeing it reflecting in your world out there. Yes, you're seeing a more positive manifestation in life because of the question deepening, the answers deepening. But don't stop until there's an absence of any negative manifestation around this.
Okay.
Certain situations, we all have these repetitive things that we experience that make us feel, whatever we're questioning. So if I'm questioning, is it really true I'm not safe, for example, I'm going to stay with that question until this peace and until my experience is reflecting back to me more than enough of what I need to feel safe. So for you, an absence of any way that you're sabotaging yourself, you're
Yeah.
noticing that in your actions, etc. Does that help?
Okay. It does. Yeah. So
It's
I
easy to drop
feel.
the question when the manifestation starts to get better.
Yeah.
But that's probably the time when you really need to stay with it just a few more days.
If I were going to put a figure on it, I'd say those stressors were about 70 to 80% less. So
Yeah,
it's substantial, but they're still there. Now, one of my main stressors now feels slightly different. And I know it's the same thing, but it feels like more the other way around. Rather than me do it to myself, it feels like the universe out to get me, which I know is the same thing intellectually,
yeah,
but emotionally it feels a little bit differently. Would I still stick with the same question for now? It's all
yeah.
a bit
I would if I were you, because
right.
as you said, that is you.
Yeah,
And something out there trying to sabotage you, it is the reflection of this. Less and less are we conscious of it, less and less are we feeling the thoughts about it, the emotions about it. And it moves more to just experiences of it that keep happening, but perhaps don't trigger such intense stuff inside.
yeah,
So just stay with that question, especially given the nature of the question, that the temptation will be to stop right before the,
yeah. Yeah, well,
you know,
it's deeply embedded, or it
yeah,
was very deeply embedded. So, okay, well, I've been doing it
yeah,
2 or 3 weeks, pretty religiously, very
yeah.
religiously. So
It
I'll
should
stick with
be,
it the
it should
same.
be fun though as well, right? It should be, you might even find you reach a point where you don't want to stop because you're going to keep on experiencing the opposite more and more.
Yeah,
That it's impossible to sabotage yourself. That's what your experience is going to be more and more.
yeah. Well, yeah, I have noticed the experience changing. Right, I'll stick with it then. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
lovely. Good question. Thank you.
Thanks for your help.
You're welcome. Sergio?
Well, hi, Helen. Good morning.
Hiya. How you doing? Good morning.
Very well, thank you.
Good.
My question is how to differentiate when uh, the body and the mind act from the noumenon rather than the doer. Is that clear?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. Just give me a little bit more.
Like,
Little.
for instance, well, tonight here in Mexico City, the apartment below all night had the music playing.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I will get awake and then go fall asleep again, and then thinking, get up awake, get awake again, and then I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna write to the landlord and complain about them, and since this is an Airbnb, I have to. This is all the thinking of the mind,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So, and then by doing this exercise right now, the meditation, I'm feeling all this opening on the body and sensing that I'm not the body, but then I still could see the thoughts of the issue of because the music was still playing a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
And then, you have, so that kind of thing. When do I know if that action, whether to write to the landlord and complain or not, or it's just, it really doesn't matter. It's just not my thing. It has nothing to do with me.
I think when you, that's a good question. When you get to the stage where you're just kind of, well, let's see what happens. My body will either contact the landlord here or it won't. And maybe we would have contacted the landlord before from a sense of frustration or anger, or I just need some sleep now. I'm getting really fed up with this. Um, but now it can be, okay, I need to take some action about this out of respect for my own body. It needs to rest, and not from a sense of lack inside or conflict inside. So if you're aware of the awareness connected to that fullness, then any actions that are taken from there are going to be maybe the same action, maybe the same thing that the body does, but just a much different outcome to it because it's coming from that fullness. If we need this to resolve, then it's going to be prolonged. But if, okay, this is coming from that peace already, this peace inside, which is always available in each moment, even if there are other emotions present too, then that's when you could say it's coming from the fullness of the self. So I can take these actions, but from a sense of peace and just wanting to look after my body as well, rather than, sort of disconnected, angry. I'm just so sick of this, and it's probably the same actions that happen, but from a different place, different feeling inside. Just feels the spontaneous right thing to do, and perhaps I find it even easier to, as the self, to take this action before maybe I may not have wanted to confront anyone or cause any trouble for someone, and I might have just let it slide. but now it's actually I deserve a good night's sleep or something, you know. Can you get a sense of it?
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you. It helps very much. And yeah, I might be asking the question again some other time. Please excuse.
Yeah. So I surprised myself what actions the body was taking, and the quite direct words that would come out sometimes from the self. You know, actually, you know, just being able to say something like, "This is not acceptable. This music all night is not acceptable. The people live here too." You know, and I just would have been too scared to say that before. You know, so it's quite empowering, um, but also fair and loving at the same time. What comes out of that?
Terrific.
Lovely.
Thanks.
Good. Thank you. Okay, Ron. Excuse me.
Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Excellent, thank you.
Good.
So when you move kind of from the meditation chair, couch, in this awareness, watching awareness, and you start taking it into the active daily world, do you find there's a period of time that until this becomes habitualized, that when you're noticing awareness when in activity, that there's almost a little bit of a disassociation or spaciness, almost not really even hearing what else is going on around you at times. I wouldn't say, I don't want to use the word checked out because you're really checked in a
Checked
way.
out from the phenomenal world,
Yeah,
maybe a little bit.
yeah, and until it becomes habitualized. I mean, is that something that is generally going to happen, or just, I don't know, just curious.
It can do. It's kind of teething troubles, so to speak, a little bump in the road as you get started with, you know, as you're taking this out into your daily life. But for me, there was a growing recognition that awareness is what I am, and it's always present. And then a real investigation where that awareness becomes more clearly recognizable as being infinite. So it's just the seeing came that what I'm looking at, what I'm calling my daily life, is absolutely no different to the awareness. So there's no difference between whether I'm closed my eyes and seated in meditation and I'm aware of awareness, or whether I'm looking at some other being or some situation or my work or something like that. The recognition got clearer that whatever I'm looking at is the awareness. It's not limited, it's not local, it's not in a certain place, it's not separate to anything. Something that doesn't have any shape can't be separate. So that recognition stopped this frantic effort of trying to always be aware of awareness, even when I was out in the world. Okay, my eyes are looking at a certain shape of another being or a person or a thing. And my mind is giving that a label as a name, name of a person or something. But the awareness is clearly seeing itself even now, even then. So more and more there's a letting go of, it doesn't really matter where your eyes go, or even if your mind labels it as an object. I know what that is. That's a table or something, for example. And then there's a clearer seeing. Awareness is everywhere all the time, appearing as all of this. So you can kind of relax then. There might be a little bit less functionality at first, because to recognize awareness in its non-tangible, not a thingness, shapeless, is has this profound effect upon the body as it deepens. So it's natural we'd want to look at that. But we can't really function very well in our life if we're trying to be aware of awareness all the time. So it'll happen, but then it becomes clearer and clearer that awareness is either recognizing itself or looking at a phenomena. But the phenomena are also arising out of awareness, cannot be present without awareness, therefore must be the awareness. And then it really doesn't matter where your attention goes then. You can be sort of pulled into some phenomenal experience and it doesn't feel any different in the body, because You're not actually able to believe you're looking at a thing, a phenomena. So it might start off like you described, you know, a little bit of, for me, there was a very strong period of I don't want to go out there. I just want to sit and recognize this beautiful awareness, you know, keep looking at it. But that drive to recognize it more, it drives you to look for it when you're out and about then in your world. Are you noticing a little bit of dissociation or not
Well, you know, I
wanting to
think I'm
engage?
still kind of, yeah, I'm still kind of in that training period. So I think
Mm-hmm.
what I find is, you know, there can be something that I'm there's some kind of engagement going on, and as opposed to paying full attention to that engagement, at times I will think for a second. Okay, am I aware? So it, you know, my attention then is diverted in a sense to, you know, into that checking in, and then it does kind of disconnect a little bit, whatever it was, whether I was having a conversation with somebody or, you know, part of a group meeting or something like that. And I guess I've just thought that maybe it was a matter of, in time, that will just again become automated because of habituation, and then it's just, you know, it takes care of itself, but that maybe that's just kind of natural.
Yeah, it will definitely become habituated, because less and less will you even have to ask that question, am I aware?
Mm-hmm.
Less and less is there a checking in needed.
Mm-hmm.
More and more it's just obvious awareness is here. The very fact you can see the business meeting or whatever you're doing, you know, see what your eyes are seeing, it's evidence of awareness, and it's just clearer and clearer. It's always here. Yeah. And not disappearing. We tend to notice it more, you know, in satsang, but it's always been there right from day one, hasn't it? Even before day one.
Yes.
For the body. So there'll be less and less of a need to check in and ask the question and kind of noticing of awareness. That'll be less something you have to do, and more it'll just be obvious it's here, which you're probably noticing happening now anyway. It's just clear the awareness is present. Sometimes you'll just be driving or talking and it'll just be noticing it's here without sort of any looking or checking in for it. It just presents itself. And not just, that's the thing that comes habituated. It's just so clear it's here that you don't even have to look for it. And you don't even feel the need to in the end, because why would you need to check in for something that you are and have clearly seen as that deepens? It's here. It can't be absent. It's always present. Whether I'm looking at it myself or whether I'm looking at some phenomena, it doesn't really make any difference in the end. So there's a knowing, that knowingness deepens, rather than, because we have to check in at first, we have to refocus with a question, am I aware? Or what is awareness looking at right now? That type of thing. But that will drop away. And if there's times, you know, where your body's just too busily engaged that you know, it doesn't serve you to be asking that question, it's absolutely fine not to then. You know, if it's going to, you need to be really interacting and functional in that moment. You can, there's 1,000 little moments during the day you can do that. Is, you know, you don't have to do those in those moments where it might cause a challenge in that or you might just appear to be spaced out, or, you know, turning into a hippie or something for everybody else watching you, you know. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Very good question, thanks. Okay, Megan.
Hi, Helen.
Hi, how you doing?
Very good. Hi, everyone. Yeah, thank you for that. I've got a natural curiosity and a why, a big why came up during that, as in why create the phenomenon. This morning while I was sitting, you know, I had this beautiful experience of the awareness, you know, being the awareness and allowing the awareness to to be aware of itself and to move as it does, and the doership left me completely. Yeah, so it was a really beautiful, and I hadn't experienced that before. And the openness of the body and the being was such a contrast to how I normally am. And I kind of get that the awareness creates phenomenon out of love, and there's no other way for the awareness to experience itself so uniquely as through different aspects of phenomenon. I kind of have that concept, that's a conceptual thing, but there's a lot of suffering, like there's just a lot of suffering, and is it worth it? That's my why. And I just wonder if that's ever come up for you. And I'm not coming from a despondent place, but it's just a curiosity. I mean, a lot of people live their whole lives and don't, they're purely in phenomena. And it's just strikes me as a lot of suffering, and is it worth it? I just had to raise that.
Yeah, it's a good question. It came up for me several times, like this sense of what's the point of, not in a cynical way, but why do all this just to seem to come right back to where we are, so to speak. But it became clearer that if the awareness is invisible and intangible, and I think you touched upon it when what you were saying, if it's everywhere and indivisible, it's just one whole thing in the purest unmanifest awareness state before phenomena, that it doesn't have the capacity then to recognize itself, because there is nowhere for it to look back at itself. There's nowhere for it to hold up a mirror and say, this is what I am. So even now awareness is recognizing itself. It's not you don't need phenomena for awareness to recognize itself, but we do need phenomena for the contrast. So when we're sick enough and tired enough of being someone finite and limited and all that comes with all the suffering, then it will drive awareness to go, well, there must be something more, and obviously we're experiencing that opening now with the satsang, with our pathway. So there becomes this paradoxical experience where on one level there is absolutely a getting lost and coming back home, seeing that I never was that someone and I'm always being this awareness. And in the manifestation, our mind and body are reflecting that ever clearer, ever deeper. And then there is also the unmanifest awareness that doesn't even need to recognize itself, actually. If we ask that question right now, does awareness even need to recognize itself? There'd perhaps be a clear sense of, actually, no, it doesn't. So what is all this about then? Why are we even in satsang? Becomes the next question. Because when it appears in a shape, when it takes a shape, especially the shape of a human being, it has the ability then to self-reflect, to ask, where did I come from? Is there more than this? Is there something further to experience about myself? So on that level and the shape it's taking, it definitely does need to recognize itself. But a clearer seeing of the awareness itself in its purest form, then even the why question will disappear. Why does the sky make certain shapes with the clouds? Well, it just does, and some of those clouds can recognize they're not clouds, some of them can't, so it's kind of a halfway question that came up for me very strongly, meaning it seems a relevant question, but there must be a place where even this isn't, where there isn't really an answer to why. Why does, if we take a kaleidoscope and shake it, it makes all these different shapes and they're never the same twice. I don't know if you had one when you were a child, you look through the thing and it makes you turn the thing around and it makes all these shapes. The self is kind of like that. It just likes making shapes for no reason. In some of these shapes, we call it a human being, and it's able to self-reflect these are a lot of words I'm saying here for a question that I can't really answer, but hopefully it's helpful. Because there is a place where even this question isn't, well, firstly, you can't really answer it, but also it's not really relevant, I'm not saying your question isn't relevant, but there isn't a need for an answer, I should say, at that point.
Yeah, that's to get to that space, and I can feel it, but I can't get there in my mind, because I've always, been curious, and I can remember telling my mum when I was 10 years old, telling my mum why the sky is blue, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's just kind of how I flow. But yeah, and I get that there could come a place where the why is not needed.
It's in the final seeing, in the final recognition. It'll be seen that there aren't actually any phenomena at all. There is only the awareness. So in that, the why kind of drops away in a seeing that even the universe itself is a shape. It is a collection of shapes the awareness is holding itself into. You can make all these different shapes out of clay. We could make a plate, a cup, a table, a painting, all of this out of one material. We could bake the clay and we could paint it and shape it, and it would look like all these different things, but it's still clay. So all of this here eventually will be seen to be, including our own body and everything, just the awareness looking like something, but never actually being something. And in that completeness of the seeing, then all the why tends to just kind of drop away. But it's good sign that the mind is asking very intelligent questions now. It's not kind of doing like it used to do. Why does all this going on? Why am I suffering? It's actually, why am I? It's a different energy, isn't it? It's a different openness. And the fruits of what you're seeing become more intelligent questions, like this. So it's not one I can really answer, although of course I always have a go. But why does the awareness do what it does? Who knows?
Yeah.
If you ever find out, let me know. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Sophie.
Hello.
Hiya, how are you doing?
Hi, Helen. Hi. Let's see. There you are. Hi. Okay. I'm going to ask for some more guidance and more direct
Absolutely.
assistance.
That's what I'm
Thank
here
you.
for. Never be afraid to ask for help, or even to ask the same question 50 times. That's exactly, or 500 times. It never hurts to hear it again, does it?
But it hurts the part that doesn't want to see it. But no. And that's really what I'm sharing again, is that since last Tuesday, this sabotage that Rich was talking about is so massive. The resistance that comes with the seeing of there's no me, or even inquiring that there's no me. And I just found myself going into such reactive behavior again. For me, it was like eating a lot and just so fixated. I knew I was doing it at the time, but there was absolutely no. I don't know why I couldn't stop it, but I couldn't. I mean, I could just say I didn't. More to the point, I chose not to. That would be more honest. And so I kind of want to see what is this sabotage thing really, the kind of crux of this. Not to try and fight it and get rid of it in that kind of. To
want to understand is really coming from the self, isn't it? What is this actually about? Let me really sort of look at this instead of just pushing the resistance away. Let me really see you know, why is it happening? You know, from a different why, like we were just saying with Megan, not the why is this happening again. What is going on here? You know, can I understand it a bit more? Can I love it a bit more? You know,
because I listened to the question and answer on Saturday, and Maggie and oh, I've forgotten his name, but Ian, and it was just touched on there, but it wasn't totally. And I thought, I really want to know this, you know, what you said, and yeah, okay, we'll just leave it at that for now, and I can say a bit more. But
so there's going to be a shock, isn't there, when we actually see there isn't anyone, there isn't a separate being, and we've been convinced for so long that that's true. And from ego's perspective, it's really certain it's true. So there will be a shock and a rebellion, you know, and uprising of, well, you know, it's just too big. For me, there was this sense it's too big to comprehend. How does this changes everything for me, you know, a sense of like, wow, you know, just as wonderful as it was just as shocking as well, perhaps more so. And something just sort of, okay, that's just too different. I can't get that, can't understand it, can't live with it. You know, something inside just kind of went. I think I may have even had one of my legendary times where I just quit Satsang for a week or something, which I lasted about 2 hours doing that, you know. I was going to leave, I wasn't going to come back to the pathway and all of that. Because from ego's perspective, everything that ego feels is true is based on this idea, isn't it, that I'm someone. You know, so I'm not good enough, I'm not safe, I'm never going to wake up. All of this stuff is rooted in this idea that I'm someone. So when you get to the core of that and go, well, when I look, there really isn't anyone. When I actually look, there's just thoughts and emotions and sensations and a body and awareness watching that all. Then it really threatens the core of ego then, doesn't it? The core belief of ego is that I am the one that has to get beyond this stuff. I am the one that has to transcend it. I am the one that has to wake up out of it. So something of the core's going to rebel there, isn't it? If seemingly this is threatening everything that I hold dear, of course I'm not going to want to hear it. So that's happened so many times. But this time you looked, you stayed with it, and you were conscious of the fact there isn't actually anyone there. There's just this immense energy of resistance. Don't look at this. You know, some things kind of pointing. Go look over there. So there'll be this upsurge of resistance to try to distract you in that moment, because ego is saying, if you go any further, you're going to lose yourself here. You're going to lose everything that you hold dear. The way around it for me was eventually I realized, well, if I've always been the self, then all that makes me me, all that makes Helen Helen is the self already. So there might not have ever been a separate being, but the way that Helen is, you know, appearing, what she likes, doesn't like, and all of that stuff is the self in its individuality, in its unique expression. So my preferences, my likes, my dislikes, my goals, my dreams, all of that is still going to be there, accessible. You know, the ego is hitting the panic button because it thinks this is the end of existence. So of course it's going to think that it's not a good idea to go any further. Because from ego's perspective, it feels like you're being asked to switch over. Okay, I realize I'm not a separate being, and now I've got to figure out how to function as the self, you know, what that means. But as the self, if you're already the self, then that switchover isn't even necessary. There's just a gradual letting go of limitation and experience of lack and not enoughness. Not enoughness in here in terms of peace and all the rest, and not enoughness out there in terms of whatever we need materially. So if you can understand that from ego's perspective, it really does seem a little dangerous to go further. But from the self's perspective, nothing is changing, you're just seeing clearly. always been that. There never was a separate being. So nothing is going to happen to you as this seeing deepens. Nothing negative, at least. If you understand, like you said, why ego is resisting, it just eases it, doesn't it? And that's what I think you've been asking for in this question. Hopefully you're getting.
Yeah, it's that sense of it being it's not it, it's the me being threatened, but it's so so core, it's at such a core level that and because of my own experience over 30 odd years of seeking, I've had a lot of kind of shock, as you know, to wake up, that it's quite habituated to that state of staying in a kind of panic mode, and reaching that point of terror, and then kind of going back into kind of old patterns because it can't kind of find the relaxation within, you know, it doesn't move through that deeper.
The best thing you can do with that when it's happening is just to honor it. You know, okay, if I overeat for a week, so be it. It's worth it for my awakening. If I feel really grumpy for a week, you know, so be it. I'll honor that. However ego's feeling, I'll let it do that. As long as it's not hurting anyone or myself, you know. And just to keeping on seeing, confirming, keep looking, keep seeing there really wasn't a separate being. Keep looking at that again, experiencing it again and again and again. And that shock and that resistance will be cushioned by this ever-growing seeing that nothing is really changing here. I'm just seeing clearly. I thought it was one way, and now I'm seeing it's always been this way. That I've never been a separate being. So there can't be any annihilation of this separate being that it fears. You know, it seems a real thing, ego. It absolutely does. And therefore it's convinced that it's going to come to an end. But if it's only ever been as seems to be, if ego is just a bunch of thoughts, emotions, tensions, pushing against and trying to getness, you know, that have just been habituated into, then it can't really ever die because or be annihilated or whatever the fear is, you know. And it's just understanding, of course, ego is going to resist if it thinks it's going to die. Of course it will. Anybody would.
Yeah.
You know, if I said to you right now, okay, to continue in your awakening, you're going to have to leave your body. Most of us, and certainly myself, would have walked out in Satsang and said, well, I'll come back when I've got one day left then, you know, then I'll do it or something. So we can understand how ego feels and that it really seems to be a real thing and a problem from its perspective. The self is always wanting to understand and to love. And gradually ego will just come to see nothing is threatening it at all. Nothing. Especially not the self. You know, it can do its thing as long as it wants to. It doesn't stop your seeing deepening at the same time. It's a quite passive way of just going, you know, I understand why you feel threatened. There's nothing I can do or say to make you feel safer, except to show you that nothing is going to change in this seeing deepening. Can you get a sense of the peace in that we don't have to, from ego's perspective, it seems really real that there's a threat. You know, so we can understand why it's rebelling. And if you can just love that enough, accept that enough, let it do its thing, let it push the panic button a little bit, and it'll just, when it realizes nothing's changed upon this seeing happening, it will relax even. You know, it's had this idea that the self is this big bad scary thing that when it's discovered it's going to squash the ego or something, annihilate it, and it's just not true. You know, ego just needs to see that nothing's changing. You're just seeing, all you're doing is looking in the mirror, you're seeing clearer. You know, so hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think there was about a week where I didn't watch any satsang, or I think I lived on chocolate because it was just like total rebellion, you know. And it's just watched as itself. It's just allowed and watched, knowing that it'll stop. You know, something needs to feel it's back in control. And it doesn't really change. You're still seeing clearer inside. Yeah.
And then the ego just relaxes with the whole thing, and there's an allowing of
The very
whatever.
moment it realizes the self has always been here, and at any moment, if it wanted to squash the ego, it could have done it. But it's the one thing the self is incapable of destroying anything, least of all the ego. It doesn't see ego, it sees itself in a contracted form. You know, all my ideas about myself as a separate being is what we're calling ego, really. And the resultant thoughts and feelings, emotions and experiences that come from those thoughts. The self, it's the one thing it cannot do. It cannot destroy anything. You know, it's just watching this egoic reaction from the awareness, lovingly going, that's fine, it's okay, it's all good. You know, so does that help?
Yeah.
Good. Very good. Okay. Thank you. Okay, Steve, last but not least.
Hi, Helen.
Hiya. How you doing?
Good, thank you. A bit of a share, then there might be a question afterwards. You know, all my life I've suffered from depression, bouts of depression, and terrible at times, really bad ones at times. And since I've joined Satsang, it's been like, even from right beginning, when I first met you, it's been like, sometimes I'd be bulletproof. I'd say it's like one week I'm bulletproof. The next week I'm not, it's neither here nor there, but I'm all right. And maybe the week after I've been in total depression, about fear, anxiety and all them things are back. And since, I mean, lockdown's been the best thing in the world for me. It really has. It's given me time to look at so many things, you know what I mean? And work on stuff and seeing some results, as you said. I'm saying, I've just realised this last couple of days, because I mentioned it last week before, that I'd started in a low mood.
Yeah.
And really, that's the depression side, if you know what I mean. That's, and I realised that it's nearly gone now, as that. And it's hardly bothered me, to be honest. I've stood my ground with it. Am I really safe, and am I really already here? And one or two questions besides, do I really need peace? And I felt uncomfortable, but no point were I scared of getting overwhelmed, you know.
Good. That's massive in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. I was talking to someone last night, and I realised what had just gone on. And I thought, hell, that's gone on, hasn't it?
We don't often see it in ourselves, the change. You know, for me, because it's been so gradual, you know, the change, so other people had to point it out to me. It's like, you know, there was an absence of suffering where there was before, but because it's kind of just dropped away gradually, we don't always realise until, you know, we're sort of looking at it, you know, talking about it or something like that.
It's like that. But I know I've been going on I call it a downer, but it hasn't been radical like it has been before, you know, real total fear. And I found myself, some two AA meetings I started up again, live. Now, there's one or two people I've not been right sure of. So I've been working on that sort of thing and all what's going on here, you know what I mean? And I found myself yesterday at a meeting, these people I'm not so sure of, I found myself just smiling at them. And they were smiling back, and they totally changed it. Totally changed it, you know what I mean?
Because you can either experience those ideas about them, or you can experience them, you know, as you're seeing clearer. You know, what we are certain in our mind is going on right now is usually the exact opposite of what's actually happening. You know, so we believe these thoughts so clearly, we experience them as if they're true.
We have these thoughts about people. That's what we believe, and that's what we see. And they aren't that way at all. And I sort of half realised that, and I was trying to look at that, and I'm starting to really see it these days. And anyway, that's working all right. And the question really was, we were talking about coming back into the body. You mentioned last week, and I wondered what you were talking about. And I get what you're talking about, but I don't. Is there a point when you think or when you decide to come back, or is it a point? I'm ahead of myself here. Is it a natural thing? Or
What do you mean by coming back into the body?
God, how did you word it? Well, at the moment, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Then you realise you are the body and the mind. And
I see. Yeah, I'm with you now. Yeah.
I think that's what I mean.
Yeah, it's a natural process that first it's a climbing up and out of all of that, isn't there? I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not anything I can perceive. All of that, you know, the netty of it. And I'm only the perceiving, only the awareness. And there's a discarding of the phenomenal world as being illusion or unreal or something like that, you know, including our mind and our thoughts and our experiences, all of that. But then there's a deepening that just starts to happen by itself of wanting to re-embrace all that as, okay, well, let me look at all this again. What really is the world? What really is my body? What really is my thoughts? You know, what are they made of? Where are they coming from? Are they any different to their source? Are thoughts different than the awareness they arise out of? There's a curiosity about the phenomenal world again then, which eventually deepens into this curiosity to see, to find out. That final seeing we were talking about with Megan, where all of this is realized, this body, these thoughts, all of this here is realized to be that, to be me too, to be the awareness too, also. That's happening, you know, we described it as in one stage and then the next one, but really they're happening at the same time, because I might have a clearer seeing that I am the awareness, and then this thought pattern arises that I'm not safe, or so I'm not worthy or something. And before we would have pushed it away, I don't want to feel that. But then there's more of a embracing of that through contemplation, through questioning, or whichever way we're doing that, to really begin to look at that. What actually is it? Is this true? And that's the re-embracing right there. So there's described as two different things. One is a pulling away from phenomenality, from the objects, from the someoneness that we are. And then there is this re-embracing that goes on, you know, of okay, first I had to see I was none of that, and then I had to see what all of that is, that it is also the self, you know. So for me it was kind of going on for a while. They were both going on at once. They were like two sides of a coin. That just gradually there was less and less focus needed on seeing what I am, because that just got so clear, so obvious, so permanently here, that there'd be more focus able to go on this re-embracing. But that wasn't any conscious choice, it was just happening with a confirmation and the seeing deepening. You know, and you, like you experienced in the meeting, like, well, let me just see there's a different way to experience these beings. That's it happening right there, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah. I don't really want to live in my virtual reality anymore. You know, that's that feeling, isn't it? That, and I don't want to feel separate from the world anymore. I don't want to feel removed from it. I want to go back in it and
that's what I'm looking at. Yeah, it is
yeah.
that separation. It's still a separation. Anyway.
Yeah. It's necessary at first just to get clear on what we actually are, and then the deepening of what we actually are is what everything is. That seeing of what everything is. So it'll be happening for everyone listening to this. Sometimes it's just more consciously recognizable. You know, there's an urge to get to know people again, to re-engage in things again, to take this seeing into a permanent thing that's all the time, like what we were speaking about with Ron earlier. So
Lovely.
Good, very good, and well done. Keep up the good work.
Well,
thank you. Okay, so we'll leave it there for today. Thank you for joining me. Next live satsang is Thursday evening at 7 p.m. UK time. Thank you. Namaste.